I paid off $43,000 of debt in 13 months after it took me years trying to figure out the best way to pay it off. But these 5 things were actually keeping me stuck, and I didn't make any progress until I started solving them one by one. So with that said, let's just jump into the first reason your debt payoff plan isn't working. You keep relying on credit. How are you supposed to pay off your debt when you keep relying on it? Tell me if this sounds familiar. Okay, you're making great progress month after month, momentum is building, and then all of a sudden, just like that, an unexpected expense comes out of nowhere, and the only way you can pay for it is with your credit card. I see it happen too often, okay? People have 2 or 3 or more months of progress, and then just like that, the unexpected expense comes. It brings them backwards, maybe 4 or 5 months, and they have to start all over again and get themselves out of the hole. But this keeps happening because you don't have a system in place. That system involves having money put aside for situations like this, and that's called the emergency fund. And here's why most people don't actually have one, okay? If you were to Google right now how much money I should have in my emergency fund, you're gonna see a lot of copy-paste articles saying 3 to 6 months of your expenses is a proper emergency fund. While that's not a bad idea, it can be very intimidating for someone who's never done this ever in their life, build an emergency fund or save money, because they could look at their current expenses and be like, wow, I have to save 10 to 25 plus $1,000. That's not going to happen. This causes overwhelm, and instead of just starting, you feel paralyzed and you don't know what to do. But this is how I want you to think about the emergency fund going forward. If you've ever played a video game where the main character has a health bar, you'll get this analogy. Think of your health bar as your emergency fund and the end of the level as your financial goal. So in this case, let's say it's paying off debt. You're going through the game, minding your own business, and then all of a sudden you're starting to get attacked. Sirens are going off, your screen's flashing, your health bar is going down fast. In the game, do you push forward when the health bar is going down, or do you find that rock in the corner with a med kit and you just kind of hang out and wait for your health bar to stabilize? Because in the game, if your health bar goes to 0, you have to go to that last checkpoint, or even worse, the start of the level. And in life, this is the same thing that happens too. You're gaining momentum towards your financial goal, right? Like we talked about, and then all of a sudden you have that unexpected expense and you don't have an emergency fund, so you have to dip into the money that you were using towards paying down your debt, which means that you're going to be paying your debt down slower, or even worse, you have to go back to the last checkpoint or the beginning of the level. How much would it take you to cover the majority of your unexpected expenses? Okay, $500, $1,000, $2,500. Everyone's number is going to be different, but first start with that number and then figure out how to build it up from there. Which brings me to reason number 2, your debt payoff plan isn't working. You're focusing on cutting costs, not increasing income. I've been there, okay? Cutting out expenses always seems like the easiest option, and it's likely the first option that a lot of people go to. But if you do this on a long enough time horizon, you're just gonna get burnt out from it, and you're gonna fall off. And you only have so much wiggle room when you're just cutting costs, because eventually you just physically can't cut anymore. That's why increasing your income is a way higher leverage activity. Now, I realize this might be controversial, okay? But I've talked to a lot of people about their personal finances, and for some reason, they accept the idea that they just have a lower income, and they've made that the narrative instead of going out and just trying to increase their income. Over the last 10 years in my 9-to-5 job, I've worked in 4 different companies because I've realized that the fastest way to grow my income is to go from one company to another. I made the mistake in my early 20s of staying at a company for way too long, thinking that loyalty would be rewarded in the corporate world. And I used to think of this quote as like the end all be all, okay? I was worth as much as someone else was willing to pay me. I just believed that so hard, okay? It made sense back in the day, right? You go to work, you try to impress some people, and hopefully they value enough to give you more money. But as soon as I switched my mindset and had a different quote of I am worth how much money I think I'm worth, it changed everything. Because with that statement, the power and control of my income and my life is in my hands, and that's exactly where I want it to be. I was no longer going to accept that 2 to 3% annual raise, right? That's complete garbage. And it's not like I was chasing money, okay? I was chasing experience, and a lot of times experience leads to money. So if you're watching this and you think that you're worth more money than what you're making right now, here's what I want you to try because it worked for me. Come up with a way that you can be more valuable for your company, okay? Sometimes that could be saving the company money, making the company more money, leading a new project, fixing this big, massive problem that's been happening, etc. You go to your boss with that plan and you tell them, hey, if I execute XYZ, I'd like to know that I have a growth path in this company. And if not, what do I need to do to be able to get the next step in this company? If they say no, or you don't really trust their answer, that means that your growth at that company is nothing, okay? And now that's your signal to sort of move on and try to find other opportunities. Leading me right into the third reason your debt payoff plan isn't working. You're using inconsistent methods instead of sticking to one plan. There are so many ways to pay down your debt, reduce your debt, etc., but a lot of these can just be distractions for you. Here's what I'm guessing happens to you. Let me know if you can relate, okay? You're starting to make some progress paying down your debt and you're kind of just maybe getting bored of it, or you're just like not into it anymore. So you start looking on YouTube or Instagram, wherever you sort of look for personal finance content, and you see something else that you want to try and you just start doing that instead. Just know that every time you start something new, you're starting from the beginning all over again. Everyone talks about how money compounds, time compounds, but skills also compound. Stopping and starting is actually hurting you more than it's helping. So if you want to try and have a more consistent method to pay down your debt and have that plan actually work, I created a free course and community just for you. It's called Dollar Discipline University, and inside I'm using my experience as a corporate accountant for the last decade plus and my own personal experience of paying off $43,000 of debt in the 13-month time frame. And this course is completely DIY. Like for Angie, for example, who was able to pay off $7,000 of debt in 3 months after going through it. Being in debt is the least efficient thing that you can do with your money. I need to keep shouting that from the rooftop. So if you're in debt, you want to try and get a better plan, you want to have a better foundation for your finances, skool.com/debt. The link is in the description. And right now I'm offering free strategy calls for any new member that joins until my calendar fills up. I'll see you in there. Bringing me to the fourth reason why your debt payoff plan isn't working: you aren't in enough pain. 5-6 years ago, the reason my wife and I were being so ferocious about paying off our debt as quickly as we could is because we were planning on having kids. Kids were always the plan for us, but around this time, the conversation was starting to get a little more serious. So we did a full audit of our life, of things that we could really just do better as future parents, and being in debt, being in so much debt, stared us right in the face. Because before this moment, we were just kind of making minimum payments and not taking it too seriously. Maybe if one of us got a small bonus at work, we would apply it towards the debt, but we weren't being that intentional with it. But we soon realized that this debt was actually holding us back from reaching, better, cooler financial goals in our life that we knew that we wanted to accomplish. The more money that we were paying other people, right? So the lenders, the less money we'd be able to put towards our, retirement, kids' future education, etc. And for us, this just created a tremendous amount of mental pain and angst. So we just kind of dove in and we did the thing. So if you're not able to stay consistent with not only paying down your debt, but maybe just any financial goal, I think it's really important that you have a tough conversation with yourself about what your why is behind doing what you're doing. I was talking to someone about his personal finances and we were talking and he was a little hesitant to share his information, and he eventually shared that he had over $100,000 in debt, and that doesn't even include a mortgage. And I was like, wow, okay, but I can still help you. But as the conversation was going on, it was very clear that he just didn't feel like he was in any, sort of pain at all for being in this much debt. He saw it as a normality in life that, oh, everyone has debt. I'm just racking it up. I'm not really paying it down. I don't really care. I'm just living my life. So unfortunately, he's probably just going to have this big, debt cloud looming over his head for the rest of his life, working every last day because he's not going to be able to afford retiring. The fifth reason why your debt payoff plan isn't working is because you're not tracking your spending closely enough. As soon as we aligned our spending to our financial goal of paying off debt, this is where everything changed. Here's what we did, right? We made a list of the most important things in our life, financial or otherwise. Then we looked at where we were spending our money. So we went back a couple months, figured out what categories we were spending our money in. Then we just adjust all the spending to wrap around our goals. So the financial goals, I like to call them your North Star goals, right? If you're making a list of 2, 5, 10 things on it, all of your spending decisions should really be going through that. That should be the filter of, is this going to help me reach a goal faster? If yes, do more of that thing. If the answer is no, or you're not sure, then maybe it's a good idea to reconsider. And by the way, at the time, paying off our debt was the top number one priority. So as you can imagine, we budgeted in our budget to pay off our debt, and we picked an amount that we thought was really aggressive every month, and then we just sort of worked around the edges of all of our other spending. But if you don't even know where to start building a budget or how to start building a budget, I shared 7 easy steps that you can take to reach your financial goals in this video. I'll see you in there.